Today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Cashless bail. Cashless bail, of course, allows a defendant to be released from jail while they're awaiting trial. That's based on their commitment to appear in court instead of paying a specific cash amount. I know some supporters of cashless bail says it avoids penalizing low-income defendants. But Gabe, what is the president and White House saying about this order and their hopes for what it will do, not just for Washington, but the rest of the country?
Well, you know, Zane Clay, the president and his administration have been railing against cashless bail for quite some time. It's something that Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney here in D.C., has been talking about a lot in the last couple of days. And this executive order the president just signed aims to eliminate cashless bail here in D.C. by potentially withholding federal funds from this jurisdiction. And also, he ordered his attorney general to look at different jurisdictions across the country and identify those that have cashless bail policies and explore ways to withhold some federal funding. Now, that is something that the administration has done for a variety of issues, trying to explore ways to stop federal funding or to the threat of withholding federal funds in order to for those jurisdictions to agree or to go along with.
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Gentlemen, we now have witnessed that President Donald Trump, early on this week, has signed new executive orders that raises extreme concern for me that in this alleged image that he's trying to paint of a war on crime, being tough on crime, he eliminated cashless bail. Cashless bail was designed and put in place so indigent people would not languish behind bars for simple, basic misdemeanor crimes. I agree that cashless bail should be removed for hardened criminals, violent offenders, but people who are in jail for possession of a burnt piece of marijuana or just drug paraphernalia, having some weed papers in your car or having a vape in your car, something like that. Now you can be arrested in DC and in some other jurisdictions, and you may not be able to ever exit jail because you cannot afford $1,000 bond, a $1,500 bond, a $2,500 bond. So this is punishing poor people for small petty crimes, homeless people who may get arrested for trespassing, who may get arrested for vagrancy, who may get arrested for just being on a sidewalk or being in front of a business too long. Now, when they go to jail, they don't get a PR bond because they cannot afford any level of cash financial assistance to pay for a bond. I have a problem with this, Charles, because this is going to explode the criminal justice system. It's going to already heavy burden overpopulated jail facilities. What's going to happen next? He's weaponizing the criminal justice system against poverty and poor people that will languish in jail for petty, small crimes.
Well, I mean, the American justice system has already been very difficult and biased against poor people for many, many years. When I became the presiding judge for a municipality, which means my jurisdiction was limited to traffic offenses and fine only criminal offenses like public intoxication or disorderly conduct, you would have people that would languish in the jail who were arrested, who did not have the ability to post the bond if they were arrested for their traffic offense or the low level crime, or they had been arrested, had been cited in the past, did not pay, and then got a warrant, and were not able to pay the bond to get a court date reinstated. I implemented a policy of always issuing PR bonds in every circumstance because I don't think low level crimes, city level crimes, people need to languish in jail. And I thought that most often the arrest, the ride, the towing of the vehicle typically, and the sitting in jail until court the next morning was far long enough for these types of crimes. And you would see before me, you would see people sit in jail for weeks on end. And I didn't do it just in my courtroom, but for the city as a whole, because I was the presiding judge. So I agree with the narrative that you don't want it biased against people, right? But you also have to look at kind of a three-pronged test, right? The likelihood of the return to court. You have to look at the danger to a victim, the danger to the community, and then of course the ability to pay, right? So you have a system where if you have no PR bonds at all, it means that only the wealthy get to go free, and that doesn't make much
Exactly.
sense. Now, the federal government doesn't have much of a right, although there is a right to bail, but you'll remember with January 6th, people sat in jail for months and months on end because they were in front of judges who were left leaning federal jurists who didn't have empathy for these people and just said, oh, y'all can sit. And there are lots of claims about the treatment. Now, that's an anomaly because, of course, usually it's poor people of color who are sitting there. And here in Houston, we had a criminal justice system set up for years that people would get a driver's while license suspended, which is a class B. It's a more serious, it's a jailable misdemeanor. And they would sit there for months until they took a plea deal, right? They had to take a plea to get out. And that's absolutely wrong. But the pendulum has swung so far, especially you've seen incidents where we had all these left wing bail organizations that were rushing down to bail everyone out with no concern as to what they did, and we had incidents where they bailed out men on domestic violence who then got out and then killed their spouse, right? I think we need to stop worrying so much about the money, right, or the ability to pay, and instead look at the potential for harm. You have to assume people are innocent, but you can look at the facts, look at the allegations as a judge, and determine whether or not you think this person is going to pose a significant risk to harm. And it's a case specific scenario that'll be very burdensome, but I think it's important because right now in DC, one, they're not arresting people for weed. They're not arresting people for stealing. They're not arresting people for assaulting people. They're not arresting people for anything. It's the wild, wild east out there, and people are in real danger. And when you see the elected officials and heavy hitters that being carjacked and robbed and assaulted, when it's happening to those rare people, it's happening to everyday people every damn day. And that's really who suffers the most. And this pendulum's way too far on the left side now, where you just let everybody go and there's no consequences for anybody. It's it's the result is, and what no one wants to talk about is who suffers the worst. Poor
But I
people of color.
but I agree
Period.
with you, Charles, in what you're saying. It has swung too far to the left. We can all agree with that. But what he has instructed federal authorities to do in DC is to take anyone that they arrest and put them in federal custody. So
Well,
now
there
if you
are.
arrest,
It's the District of Columbia. There's no state
but
jail.
when you take these people, Charles, homeless people, take a single mother, Charles, who may have gotten a simple misdemeanor traffic violation, or she may have got a
Well, people aren't
trespass
going to
notice.
jail in DC for speeding or not
But
signaling a
Charles,
turn.
what I'm saying is if you're going to make cashless bail, you're going to trap a lot of poor people in that net who should not be in jail.
Well, I
They're only
agree.
there
I
because they're
agree.
economically indigent. And also, Trump is a billionaire. He has no empathy or sympathy for poor people who cannot afford to make bond because he's someone who could make bond when he was charged with multiple felonies in multiple jurisdictions. He can afford to pay those bonds. So he has no empathy or sympathy for poor people like that. They should have made it more specific. Let it focus on violent offenders and make it specific target to those crimes. If they're committed, then the cashless bond, no cash bond applies to them. But make it blanket like he has done, I got a problem with that because it's going to fill the prisons, fill the jails with poor people. They already cannot afford to get out, so they damn sure can afford a lawyer.
I
Charles,
mean,
it's just a war on poverty.
the flip side to that, however, is when you say he doesn't have any empathy. Yeah, it sounds like he doesn't have any empathy for people charged with committing crimes. And I'll agree that it needs to be nuanced and needs to be case specific. But right now, the paradigm, the reality in Washington, D.C. is crime is out of control. And instead of addressing it aggressively, the Democrats that actually run that city, right, are just posturing and engaged in performative equity, reform, justice nonsense, right? And it's letting law abiding almost exclusively law 90% of the people murdered in the District of Columbia, African American. The murder rate is
But
out of
what
control in that
percentage
city.
of the District of Columbia is African American?
Well, no, it's not 90%, but it's
DC is Black DC. Let's
oh no,
be
I
honest
agree,
here.
but it's not
DC
90%.
DC
But
is known as Black DC.
I
And
get it.
what percentage of the District of Columbia are people in poverty based on race in the District of Columbia? Then it's going to be disproportionately African American people. Why
Right,
is
but
Donald
black
Trump
people are getting
not sending?
murdered, and
But here's
something
my
needs to be
question.
done to protect those people.
But Charles,
That's it.
why
And that's
is
a
he not?
conversation that you don't want to have, and so many people
Charles,
on the
but
left
why
don't want
is
to
he
have,
not
is that the
sending?
left isn't doing anything to protect law-abiding citizens
But
who
crime is
just
going
want
down
to
in
live their
DC.
damn lives. You're having pharmaceutical
Statistically,
deserts,
crime is going
retail
down.
deserts, grocery deserts, all created by shoplifting and theft that has
But
gone
Charles,
crazy, and
even
no
when
one does a
crime is
damn
going
thing.
down in the District of Columbia, you do this. Why did not Donald Trump send the National Guard to Republican-led states where crime is at an all-time high? Why is he not sending the National
Well,
Guard
he's
and
talking
federal
about
authorities
doing it right here in
into
Houston.
Memphis, Tennessee? Why they not in Memphis, Tennessee? Look
Oh,
at
I
Memphis,
agree.
Tennessee's crime rate. No,
So
because they
you
got
would welcome it in
they
Memphis?
got a Republican governor
Okay,
that
so would you
supports Donald
welcome,
Trump.
Cornell, would you welcome it in Memphis?
I would welcome increased policing in Memphis. I would
Oh, so
welcome,
that was
but
just
I
you
would say
talking out
this.
your
But I would
hind
say
end.
this.
So
They
you
must
don't
work
want him to
together.
do it in Memphis
I
either?
do not. I do not want them
Exactly.
coming in
Exactly.
as
So what was your
adversaries
point?
to local law enforcement. I don't want federal government coming in as adversaries to local law enforcement. If they're not going to work together, then don't come in. If they're
But
going to
the
work
problem is
together,
the
then yes.
local law enforcement in DC is not working. They're not doing their job. They're standing by with horse blinders on and ignoring crime. And that's the problem. And it's happening in so many
But
urban
crime
centers,
is going down in
Democrat
DC.
controlled urban centers, irrespective of who runs the state. And
But
who
he's
suffers the
biased
most?
toward
Black Americans
Democratic-led
that
cities.
don't break the law. And it
Why is
seems
he-
like that the Democrat politicians don't give a damn about Black Americans that pay taxes, about Black Americans that
Republican
have good jobs,
politicians don't
about
give a
Black
damn
Americans that
about
want to go
black
to
people
school
that
and be
pay
safe.
taxes.
And those are the Black Americans
Don't
I
pretend
care
that only
about, not
Democrats
the criminals
don't care
and
about
the
black people.
awful people. And it's
No
the same with white
politician
people. The
from
white
either
people I
party
care about
cares
are the
about
good,
poor black people.
hardworking white Americans, not the criminals. I don't
I disagree,
understand
Charles.
why so many
He's
Democrat
targeting
politicians and
black-led
you
cities.
don't care about Black victims.
He's targeting black Democratic-led cities. Why is he not targeting those Republican-dominated states?
He's
with
talking
high
about
crime
coming to
rates?
Houston. What are you talking about?
That's
This is
not
a
done that.
Republican state.
Why he ain't sending them to Houston? And Houston is a Republican.
He's talking about it.
And Texas is a dominantly Republican state, but
Yeah,
he's
but-
targeting black-led Democratic cities.
But again,
Let's be honest.
you're being deceptive because
No, I'm
yes,
not.
well, we
He's
have a
targeting
Republican
black-led
governor.
Democratic cities.
We do Houston, except for our white mayor. I think the city council is all exclusively African American. I think that all of our public servant leadership are people of color. It is an
He's not
absolutely
sending
completely
them to Houston.
Democrat
They're
controlled
not
city.
coming to Houston. They're
Okay,
not coming
so
to Houston.
you think it's just racism, huh?
I believe that Trump is targeting African American led cities that are Democratic led cities for a reason. And the reason why is because he wants to paint the face of crime and the face of the problem involving the criminal justice system as a black male face in this country.
Wait.
Because that feeds his base, that
Wait.
feeds the right wing element that believes those racist tropes about
Well,
black
what's the
people.
racist tropes?
This
I'd love to
same
hear
man,
this.
Let me tell you something. This same
Well, what's the
man,
racist tropes? Let's
the
talk
the
about
racist
violent
tropes-
crime and the racist
trope is
tropes.
that
Please
the
let me
image
know.
of crime in America is a black male face. But he doesn't want to paint that the image of poverty in America, in this country, in the inner cities is overwhelmingly black and brown people. But he doesn't want to paint the fact
Oh,
that
now
look,
you're
man,
moving the ball,
school
right?
system is a failed system in predominantly black and brown led cities. But why don't we focus on this? He's attempting to totally rewrite the Constitution. On the same day he wrote this cashless bail executive order, he also made it a crime to burn the American flag. When the United States Supreme Court already ruled just a couple of years ago that burning the flag is protected, according to the Constitution, in free speech. It's a form of free speech. He knows that, but now he's made it a federal crime to burn the flag. He's going against the U.S. Supreme Court ruling because he don't give a damn about no court in America.
Well, some clarity. Initially, he is ordering his Justice Department to take efforts to be able to enforce prohibitions on flag burning. He doesn't have the right to create a crime with his pen. Really, I mean, although they've expanded regulatory enforcement, that is in the province of our legislature, right? The Senate and the House of Representatives. They long ago enacted laws against burning the flag that were repeatedly shot down by the Supreme Court and is seen as protected under the First Amendment. I'm not going to defend that idiocy. That's absolute idiocy, right? Now, it's odd coming from you, right? Because years ago I heard you express how you don't think people should be able to burn the Quran, right? Now I think you should be able to burn the American flag. I think you should be able to burn the Bible. I think you should be able to burn the Quran. I think you
I
should be able to
totally
build.
disagree. You should
Oh,
not
of
be
course you
allowed
do,
to
because you're
burn.
an
You should
absolute
not be
hypocrite.
allowed to
That's what
burn the
makes this show
Bible.
great is your
You should not be
hypocrisy.
allowed to burn the Holy Quran.
Why
In
not?
fact, I don't think you
Well,
should
why
be
not?
allowed to
Why
burn
should you be
any
allowed to burn
religious
the
book
holy
in this
American
country,
flag?
because it's ironic to us and to Christians who support Donald Trump. He made it illegal to burn the flag, but he makes it all right legal to burn the Holy Bible. So why would he put more emphasis and concern on allowing people to burn the Bible if they want to burn it, but you can't burn the United States flag? Because Trump don't give a damn about that Christian base that supports him. They got to ask themselves the question. You go to jail for burning the flag, but you applaud it if you decide to burn the Bible. I'm against burning the Bible and the Holy Quran. I'm against burning
I don't think
anything of a
any
religious
reasonable
text.
person would applaud anyone burning someone else's holy book or their own holy book or the American flag.
But that takes place in America. They
I
do
think
do that.
reasonable people would be like, man, that's just stupid. Why are you doing that? But what we're talking about is the ability to do it as an act of speech, where you would actually support making it illegal, Sharia compliant, to burn the Holy Quran, in your opinion, right? But you want it to be legal to burn the flag. And that's the height of
Yes.
hypocrisy, right?
No, it's
It's
not.
the absolute height. No, it is.
No, it's
Because
not.
here we have a First Amendment,
I can tell
right,
you
where
why.
people can express themselves. And while you might think it's a holy book, there's a great number of people who have a legitimate argument that it's a book that promotes hatred, violence, pedophilia, violence against infidels, violence, sectarian violence, and all these horrible
Do
things that
you
are
support
expressly laid
burning
out
the Confederate
verse by
flag?
verse, word by word.
Do you
And so
support
while
burning
you
the
think it's
Confederate
a
flag?
great book, I think it's a horrible book.
Do
And
you
we just
support burning the
disagree on.
Confederate flag?
I support burning anything. If you're
Okay,
doing it as
so wait a
speech,
minute.
not like a house or anything, but a
I
performative burning of a
believe
flag or a book, I
I
think it's
believe
protected on the First Amendment. I think it's
I
gross to
believe
burn the
burning the
American
Confederate
flag.
flag should be
Who
legal,
cares about burning
and
a
burning the
wait,
American flag should be legal, because both Confederate flag and
right? I
American
think they should
flag
both be
were the
legal.
flags of slavery in America. Both flags flew at
See
auctions
how you're
and
changing
slave
the
sales.
subject?
Both
See how you don't
flags
want to
flew on
own your
slave ships
positions on the
that
Quran
brought in
being somehow
slaves to America.
special and everything else
So
not being
the
special?
Bible should be kept in check for those who wish to commit crimes in its name. But the flag of slavery is both American flag and Confederate flag. That's why I support burning
I
both
don't
of
even know
them
what you're talking
as a
about. This. What
form
do
of
you mean
free
the Bible should be kept in check? What do you mean by that?
those who want to commit crimes in the name of the Bible and those who want to commit crimes in the name of the Holy Quran, they should be kept in check. But both
Okay.
books should be protected
But
and not be
no,
allowed to be
th- th-
destroyed.
there's not a lot of people committing crimes in the name of the Bible. There are
That's
an
not true.
unbelievable
That's
number of
not
people
true.
committing violent crimes
Slavery
all
was
across
established
the
in the
world.
name of the Bible.
I'm sorry?
Slavery in America was established in the name of the Bible.
Yeah, but I'm talking about
It-
2025.
But wait a minute.
And
In
actually, slavery wasn't
2025,
established on the Bible.
but wait a
Slavery
minute.
was an awful institution that was created by
It was
mankind at the
established
dawn of
on the
mankind
Bible,
and
where their
lasted
religious
all
scholars
throughout
said
mankind
black people
until
were
the
cursed
British
from the
government decided
Hamitic
to end it.
curse.
And where does slavery
No,
continue
Charles.
today? Well, it continues in Africa and South
And in
Asia,
America.
right?
Slavery
No, it
continues in
doesn't in
America.
America. That's
Read
just
the
you
13th
lying. But
Amendment.
it's really
When
you
you're
changing the
convicted of a
subject
crime
away
in
from
America, you're
burning
allowed
the
to
flag,
become a legal
okay,
slave.
burning my religious
Slavery
text,
still
not.
exists right here in America under the 13th Amendment. You can be a legal slave if convicted for a felony and in prison for a crime. You lose your rights and you can become a modern day free slave in America. So it still exists right here too.
Well, I mean, the solution to that is stop committing crimes so you don't end up in prison. But no, that's not
So
real
the
slavery. That's
solution is
imprisonment.
stop the war on poverty in the name of the war on crime and stop making prisons private for profit. That's how you stop that. Because certain states, including Texas, has contracts with private prisons that say they will keep the bed capacity filled at 89%. And if they go under the 89%, then they pay a penalty to the private prison institution. So they have to keep bodies rolling into these private prisons because there's a contractual obligation to keep so many beds filled for profit. So don't tell me slavery.
I mean, obviously, you've had scandals like Pennsylvania where they were sending kids to private jails for profit, and you've had issues. But that was a long time ago, and really more
No, that
importantly,
was a
let
couple
me
of years
finish.
ago.
Again, you're
That
interrupting
was a
me.
couple of years
So,
ago.
15 years ago, I would agree with you. I was very zealous about this issue. We were putting way too many people in jail, mostly for drugs, and it was insane. And we've got to stop and we've got to change. But we've entered a new paradigm in America, right? And this new paradigm, we got to talk about those Menendez brothers tomorrow, right? We've entered this new paradigm, right, where we're just letting everybody go. You kill somebody, go on.
Do you believe their
Stop
father
it,
raped them?
right? You rob
Do you believe
somebody,
their father
we're just
raped them?
going to call it
Do
shoplifting.
you believe their father raped them?
Oh, well, let's talk about it tomorrow.
Well, on Fox Face Off, we tell the raw, unadulterated truth.
Fox Soul Face Off
We are given the platform here with no fear.
always comes out swinging.
We should be saying, hey, stop shooting and killing people.
Nothing held back.
They wanted black hip-hop moguls and artists to continue the feud.
No punches pulled.
And
Shut
neighborhoods
the hell
come
up.
up
You
and
interrupt
let
me all
speak
the
to my
time.
people.
Tune into the show where opinions collide. Fox Soul Face Off. New episodes weeknights at 9 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.